everyone, I'm Captain Logan, and right now I'd like to briefly discuss a new show that just started on Syfy this week called Defiance. I'm not going to talk about this for a real long time. This is going to be a hopefully kind of quick, non-spoiler review, but I just wanted to give my 2 cents on this show real quick, and mostly I wanted to just really come on and just recommend this show. I talked about this a little bit on the live show. Defiance is this new really epic, broad-sweeping kind of science fiction show with huge production values. It's a very expensive show, and it's this video game tie-in thing where they're doing an MMO, and they're doing this this television show, this regular show at the same time, and one is supposed to influence the other, and that sort of thing. And so it's this big, really interesting multimedia kind of thing, but what's really great about it is it really, at least so far, there's only, of course, been the first episode, but it really doesn't look like it's the kind of thing that's going to require you to play the video game while you're watching the show. And so if that's been kind of a turnoff for you, really do yourself a favor and take a look at it, especially if you're like me and you've been waiting for a new thought-provoking, complex, intelligent kind of science fiction series. I've been waiting for something like that, and you know, for a while now, because it's really been a while since there's been anything that's really piqued my interest in that vein, and anything that's lasted longer than a few episodes. I really think this one's liable to be around for a while, despite the giant production values. The first week, or I mean, the first episode rather, you know, raked in the viewers. It did quite well, and there's still a lot of questioning about whether or not it's going to ultimately be sustainable due to the huge cost, but man, it pays off in this pilot. The first thing I want to say is this thing does not have pilotitis, and what I mean by that is, you know, you watch a lot of first episodes of shows, and they're trying so hard to let you know who all the characters are that it gets really static really fast, and it's obviously just a checklist of what do we need to tell the audience so that they'll keep watching the show, as opposed to telling a story with that first episode. This absolutely does that. This absolutely does a good job of introducing us to our main characters and giving everybody a really great moment to shine, and there are a lot of characters in this show, not to mention of a lot of different kinds of species, but it also manages to tell a pretty good story, and it's somewhat predictable in its way, especially when you get to the big, you know, action climax at the end of the first episode, but that's somewhat understandable because I mean, it's predictable, but not in an awful way. It does kind of, I think it goes to kind of a place that you'd want it to, and it's also setting up a really intriguing mystery. There's a really scary alien race that attacks the town of Defiance in the latter major section of the first 2-hour episode, and the question is, who sent them? Why did they come in? And who is it that wants this town destroyed? And I guess I should talk a little bit about the premise of the show. I think it's absolutely fascinating. It's really intriguing, and what it is this year in 2013, the Earth is not invaded, but aliens show up, and they want to terraform the Earth so that they can live there, and they're trying to colonize other planets. And they don't think that the Earth has humans living on it, or doesn't have people living on it, and they come to find out, of course, that they are there, and they come anyway, and they try to figure out how to cohabitate peacefully with us. And, of course, one thing leads to another, and there's a war after a while, and the war gets so bad that at some point a ship, or maybe multiple ships, I forget, crash into the planet that are terraforming vessels. And originally they had planned on terraforming over time, and they had a plan, but when this ship or ships crash, it terraforms the planet incredibly quickly, and it completely changes and ruins the Earth's ecosystem, and it makes it very difficult for either race to live comfortably on the planet, and it creates a bunch of flora from that planet, and also creates weird new hybrid species and things. The alien the aliens are of different species. It's somewhat like the Xindi in third season Enterprise, and I'm a little bit fuzzy on if they're all from the same planet. And again, I just finished watching this, so on a second view, I'm sure some of these things that I'm not getting right away I would pick up on, but I'm getting the sense from a couple lines of dialogue that they're actually all, or at least the majority of them, are kind of from the same place. But I could be off on that. But anyway, so there's all these different species that are here along with the humans, and over time, eventually, the two species, or at least the humans and the aliens, kind of figure out that they're going to have to work together to figure out how to live on what essentially is a new planet. It's still Earth, but it's been terraformed on accident, and it's all kind of messed up now. And so they actually all just quit fighting because they get tired of fighting, and they realize that this war is not as... it's almost as if they've forgotten what they're fighting for, I think. It's like well, really we need to just figure out how to survive. And so... you fast forward a few decades, and we're in the 2040s, and we open the show with our main character, whose name is Nolan, and he is traveling with a girl that we come to find out. I don't want to spoil too much, but we come to find out that he rescued her from her former not so great life, and she's one of the aliens. And this apparently doesn't happen very often because humans and a lot of these alien species can figure out how to kind of cohabitate, but they don't really get along, especially in certain parts of the world, colloquially, it looks like. And so... anyway, they're kind of nomads, and they're going around just trying to figure out how to survive. And they stumble upon Defiance, which is named after this big major battle in this war. And everybody talks about the Defiant Few, of which Nolan is a part of. And they're like some of the last people to have fought in this big major battle. And Defiance, it turns out, used to be St. Louis, and so, which I immediately found intriguing, and it is actually the reason, and just kind of fun, and it is really the reason I decided to watch the show in the first place, because my wife has family from St. Louis. We're in St. Louis all the time, and I was like, oh, this is cool. It's a show that is kind of set in where my wife partially grew up. And so the arch is still there, but nothing else is. And they do some really cool kind of thematic and symbolic things with the arch, that it's still standing after all of these horrible things have happened, and that symbolizes keeping a town running through all this adversity. And then, of course, we get to see a lot of adversity, and, spoiler warning, but as you might imagine, the town manages to stick around by the end of the first episode. There's a lot of levity in the show. It's a really serious show, but there's also a lot of funny bits, and I appreciated that it's not too incredibly violent. I mean, like, there is some violence, there is some dark stuff, but it's not going for shock factor. And dare I say, this might be a decent family show. I mean, again, maybe slightly older kids, but it's definitely not like going out of its way to be obnoxiously, for no good reason, dark. It tonally reminds me a little bit of Firefly here and there. Not that it's too derivative of that by any stretch of the imagination, and it is a bigger and more epic kind of show than Firefly, which is nothing against Firefly. That was somewhat of a more intimate kind of world, but or intimate kind of show. But what we've got here is this big epic kind of thing that's focusing on mostly a couple of characters, and so it gets very personal. But it's also about these, all of these different cultures and how they're living on, again, this kind of new planet, and all of these different species speak all these different languages. It's really cool that not all of them are speaking English all the time, and that it doesn't cop out and give us some kind of a universal translator. It's neat that we get to hear all these different languages. They all sound very different. It's very clear that all of this was thought out and really well put together, and there's this fantastic energy to the show. I'm really impressed with it. But like I said, it's also got this kind of small town feel. I don't want to call it a sci-fi western because it's not that. And I mean, like we do have a lot of those sorts of things. Like I said, Firefly kind of has that, but it is that in the sense that it's this intimate kind of town. We have, you know, our doctor, and we have our sheriff, and we have our mayor, who, by the way, is played by Julie Benz, and she's fantastic. That was the other reason I wanted to make sure and watch this show. We've got our outlaw kind of characters. We've got, you know, we've got our police officers, and we have a brothel in this show, and that's absolutely fascinating. How it works, and I really like the girl who runs the brothel. She's really interesting and fun. This whole thing is really sucking me in already, and it reminds me a lot of the pilot of Lost, in that by itself it's really energetic, and it has its own tone, and then and it just feels like a very unique, original kind of thing, and then you want to see more, but it works pretty well as its own standalone thing. And the this pilot, like, it's theater worthy. It's cinematic, and I could have almost seen it going to the theater and being its own thing. I mean, it's definitely setting some stuff up, but by and large, just what it is, it's better than a lot of science fiction films I've seen over the last couple of years, and I'm deeply impressed with it. I definitely plan to continue watching, and I encourage other people to do the same. Anyway, I think that's all I'm going to say about it for now. I may come back and do other, you know, periodic reviews of it down the road, and talk about it here and there, but I'm on board for this one. I think it's absolutely fantastic. And anyway, thanks everybody for watching. I sure appreciate it, and I'll see you again very soon. I'm Captain Logan.